for IWMA that was reduced to 4.4, that's last year. Coming into the next fiscal year, they're lowering again to 3%. So you see a little bit of reduction on your waste bill, but again, that's just a pass-through. San Miguel Garbage collects that and then passes that on to IWMA. The last thing is that, this is for the public really, there's 3 board seats up for election this round. And if anybody's interested in being a board member, please contact the SLO County Clerk Recorder. And that's it.
Comments from you?
No. Mr. Baker, no.
We have public comment. General manager's report. Anyone approach the lectern and sign in? Seeing none. And we'll move on to district council.
I do have something tonight. This week I attended a discussion with the other attorneys representing agencies that are part of the PDCC and to discuss how a future JPA might be structured as was requested by the PDCC. So you guys should be receiving some additional information on that. It's at the very beginning, it's very rough, and right now we're trying to figure out the legalities of how it will work, but you will be receiving something from me summarizing where we stand and what the outstanding questions are.
Anything else? Thank you very much. Board, you have a question for council? Yeah. Owen? Move on to the next item. District utilities.
You have my report as submitted. If you have any answer questions yet.
I do have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
So you have, just showing your 18 counts, 60 days past due. At what point does the water get shut off?
So if you haven't paid and you get a 60-day notice, then that starts a 48-hour window to get shut off. So once you're 60 days past due, then that starts the clock for being shut off.
Okay, and then you have 3 accounts that have started an arrangement, so that if they were to call you and put on some sort of payment plan, then that stops the water shut off, correct?
Correct. If anybody is past due, we tried numerous times to contact the customers or the homeowners, whichever it may be, to get the situation resolved. But in any case, if somebody's 30 days past due, 60 days past due, and want to enter into a payment arrangement, then they can do that. We'll help people work through that and get into that process. However, if they start a payment arrangement and then don't follow through with it and don't make the payments as delineated, then it starts the process all over again. And the 60 days would go, you would start a new 60 days, but it would be the same process again.
Got it. And then my other question was regarding SB 54 and SB 343 on page 41.
What's your question?
Just, what does that mean for our C.S.D? Because you're saying goal is 65% plastic recycling by 2032, or will not be sold in California. So, is this something more restrictive?
It's more restrictive than what's currently in place. It doesn't really have much to do with the district itself.
Okay.
It's primarily to do with how things are packaged and sold.
Okay, all right. And then what's the SB 343, Truth in Labeling Law? Against mislabeling products?
It just has to be, correct me if I'm wrong, but it just has to be factual on what it is.
Can't say it's recyclable when it's not.
Oh, is someone
They're putting it on for the people that produce the,
Oh, okay. So some of that has been going on, is what you're saying?
yeah. Oh, a ton of it's been going on, and now they have to
Okay.
sneak it through the more state regulations.
It's like saying reduces fat-free or
Yeah.
makes you skinny or something. Okay, it's something like that. Okay.
They're truly just trying to get the contaminants out of the recycling plant.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that's all I had.
Mr. Baker? Calvin's?
One thing I just wanted to piggyback on with Director Gregory's comments. So like a frozen meal box, right? There's a recycling label on it. But in this county, it's not recyclable because it can't be processed by digesters. It goes up in the Bay Area, they have something to do with that. But out here in rural areas, straight into landfill. Same thing with milk cartons and other things like that, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Mhm.
Okay.
So that was the only thing I wanted to add on that. I had a conversation with the Kardashians a couple years back because I was curious.
Director Davis?
No, as far as needles, in the past, I've been on places where, with vets and horse farms and so on. And I don't know how it is now, but then you put all your needles in a dispensary and there was a person that came and picked them up.
Yeah, now
You had to do that back then. You couldn't just throw them in the trash.
They can't now.
you can't throw them in the trash. You physically can, but you can't. You're not supposed to throw them in the trash.
Yeah, but we're talking about disposing of
Yeah.
needles and so on. I don't know how they do it now, but like I said,
You gotta take them to a pharmacy or
yeah, we had ours picked up. We had our boxes at each barn and
Anything else? Public comment? Anybody have anything? Okay, we'll move on to fire chief report.
Good evening. The report is submitted as written, just with a slight update on the activity at Camp Roberts. 2 weeks ago, they began a 219 fire and operation class. That went on for a week, live fire activities, primarily to the south area, towards McMillan Airfield. And then this last week, they were doing a 234, another fire and operations class. That was all the fire and activity you'll see to the south, the 10th Street direction. The activity to the north was a fire that was started on range 18. It's a 50 caliber machine gun range, and something sparked a fire. It escaped into the impact area, and they've been kind of monitoring that for the last week and a half. I think that started last Friday. So that's why you're seeing large amounts of smoke and stuff. So they're tending as best they can. On May 30th would be the impact burn, and that's an annual burn of between 9 and 15,000 acres, depending on what the footprint is and what's been consumed during training. I'm not sure how much smoke is going to be generated on the 30th. It's just due to the portions of the impact area being consumed currently. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Dr. Baker?
Well, it just looks like you had a relatively quiet month.
Yeah, we had a very quiet month. We're 1/3 of our call volume, so we discussed that at the advisory council meeting last night. It's a good thing. Unfortunately, we did lose some community members who we were servicing, so those that reflects in our call volume, but a really slow month, so it's a good thing.
It's probably a while out.
Sure.
Good.
No.
Director Davis?
no, it's fine.
At this time, I'll take any public comment. Please approach the lectern, sign in. Okay, we'll move on to consent calendar. The items listed below are scheduled for consideration as a group in one vote. Any director may request an item to be withdrawn from the consent agenda to discuss or to change a recommended course of action. Unless an item is pulled for separate consideration by the board, the following items are recommended for approval without further discussion. Public comment. I move that we approve the consent calendar.
I'll second.
Wait, Gregory.
Wait.
I have a motion on the floor by Director Smiley to approve 1 through 4 of the consent calendar, seconded by Director Gregory. Have a vote. Director Baker?
Yes.
Director Gregory?
Yes.
Director Calvin?
Yes.
Director Davis?
Yes.
President Smiley?
Yes.
Passes 5-0 with no absence.
Next is board action items, monthly financial reports for April 24. Recommended to receive and file by the board consensus.
Hello again. The April financials are on page 107 through 154 of the packet. The reports are submitted as written. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Dr. Baker?
Yeah, just one quick question. It's on page 120, so it's 25,000 to Curtis Ellingson for turnouts.
I'm sorry. Page 120, there was a what and a what?
It's $100 or $25,000 for turnout gear. We received a grant from CAL FIRE. It's a matching fund grant, part of our volunteer fire response rural fire capacity grant effort. So we expend the money and then the state reimburses us at 50%. It was part of our accounted budgetary items. So we received 6 sets of turnouts, which are needed, and they're in service as of yesterday.
So just what are turnouts?
What are turnouts? It's the fire-resistant gear that firefighters wear for structure fires, vehicle fires, emergency calls in the middle of the night. They're very expensive. It's more than our Armani suit. If you look at the price tag per turnout, your turnout jacket's $1,200. Pants are, I'm backwards. Turnout jacket's $1,500. Pants are $1,200.
I was just curious.
Boots are $560 and helmets about $400.
Yeah, I just didn't know what a turnout was, so I just appreciate that. Thank you.
Our crew members are very happy with it.
Oh, sure, sure.
Bennett? Nothing at this time. Sorry. Director Davis?
No, not tonight.
Can I have consensus? Everyone?
Well, we need public comment.
Oh, sorry.
Public comment? Please approach the lectern.
Sorry, Marie.
All right. Well, great. Just to follow up on my previous comment, so I would say that these April financial reports are inaccurate by the fact that there was a redacted item that you already heard about. I don't need to go through that again. And that actually the amounts that are presented in these financial statements are not correct.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your input. Okay, we have a consensus. Bennett?
Yes.
Director David Baker?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, for
Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have continuation of discussion and potential action regarding the adoption of the water rates from the September 28, 2023 board meeting. Pursuant to Article 8D of the California Constitution, the San Diego Community Services District is continuing to discuss regarding protest ballots submitted and will consider taking action to update the rate structure and increase the rates for water services, Resolution 2024.
Okay, try this again. So this is a continuation from the March board meeting. Subsequently, there was a workshop held on May 2nd.
Sorry, he needs to be up. The fan.
All right. So subsequently, there was a workshop held on May 2nd to discuss the differences between the proposed scenario 1 rates and the rates that were proposed by Director Baker. And we had a few members of the public attend that meeting. Some of them are here tonight. However, subsequent to that, our recommendation is to move forward again with the scenario 1 rates. With the following change: to start the year 1 rates July 16th, 2024, and then the successive rates July 16th of each following year. This would be for a total of 4 years, not 5 years, as previously indicated in the scenario 1. Since this has been going on for almost a year at this point, we've essentially lost the first year. So that is our recommendation. Be happy to have any further discussion.
Dr. Baker?
Yeah, we'll oppose these rates as I have consistently been. The fact that some people get like a 9% decrease or up to a 22%, everyone in the middle is going to get like a 15 to 16% increase. So, you know, it's just a consistent opinion. Actually, I don't even know why we don't consider this maintaining the rates we have. We just figure out a deal for an increase tied to the CPI or something as another consideration. That way, everyone's going to get the same rate increase as opposed to this deal where it's just a massive hit on the majority of our users. And I'm also concerned the fact that the flat rate is so low. You get into a situation where you're really cutting back on water. I think this district's going to really suffer. They're not going to get the revenue they need. So, that's my thoughts.
I know we've had a lot of time to discuss this and go over this and, a lot of consideration. I think it's time for us to not kick the can down the road any longer and to make a decision in this meeting.
Okay, thank you. Collins?
I had a question. I know that Director Baker worked on an alternative rate structure, and I know this was presented at the last meeting, I guess it was a meeting, the workshop. And what was the status of that, is my question, regarding the numbers that you developed, Director Baker.
What do you mean the status?
Because I understood that possibly we were going to discuss that as an alternative.
Well, we had a workshop.
Yeah,
where
that's
what. And then the staff's coming back with the recommendation of this.
Director Baker, do you still support your model? That's kind of
Well, I like it more than this one, but again, it was just an alternative because I opposed this one from the get-go, and so I just put out something different. But we'll look at some community input here in a while.
Director Collins?
not this present.
Director Davis?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to adopt Mr. Baker's.
So we can't do that. So number one, we have to have public comment before we take any motions.
Oh, okay, all right.
However, let me finish real quick. If there can be direction from this board to start the 218 process for Director Baker's his rates schedule, but we can't adopt his rates until it has gone through a Proposition 218.
Yeah, I know. That's fine. We better.
There's also no actual nexus between Director Baker's rates and the actual services. They're mathematical calculations just based on numbers, is from what I understand. There's not actually any tie to the services being provided and what the cost of that is. So it would likely not be defensible if it were challenged. Either way, if you want to move forward with the Proposition 218 process on those rates, we would need to agendize that for another meeting because it's not an action item at this meeting at this time.
I'll take public comment at this time. If you approach the lectern and sign in, please.
Sangster, San Miguel resident. To the council's point, there's no nexus in the rates they're proposing either, because they're being applied indiscriminately. As Director Baker points out, some people are getting a much more significant increase than others, and some people are getting a discount or a reduced rate. So I'm not sure what nexus you're referring to, but that's not being applied equally. We had a workshop here, and the feedback from public at that time was universally in favor of Director Baker's proposed rate structure. Now, the actual rates have to be determined in future time, but it's easy to try to apply the rates equally to everybody. But that's a lot more fair for all of the residents, as opposed to some people getting a reduced rate, and the bulk of people facing a much more significant increase. So again, if you're going to apply things fairly, then I think that should be taken into consideration. Furthermore, if Director Baker is suggesting a future increase based on CPI, again, that's fair, because it matches what the increase in inflation is. It's not just some random number picked by a consultant. So, in your considerations, again, the public has spoken, Director Baker's come up with a fair plan. It seems to be logical to me that adopting the current structure based on consultants' wish list is not very fair for the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have a public comment? Please approach the lectern and sign in. Okay.
Thank you for giving me this time. My name is Jacqueline. I live over here in Aldo. I have written in about the water rates. I can't always make it to the meeting. I have a young child. That's why I was late. Sorry about that. I am interested in hearing about, I think Director Baker's plan needs to be investigated. I think not investigating it and doing the things that we need to do would not be serving the community. When I moved here 9 years ago from Paso Robles, my water rate went from $20 there, $50 here, and I was told that was a good rate. It's now $161. My rate has gone up hugely, even though I pulled out my yard completely, no grass. And everyone is feeling inflation. Our grocery bills have gone up, our power bills have gone up, and our income is not matching it anymore. And I think that this board needs to look at the average citizen. Yes, we are able to pay our water bill. What other choice do we have? Not to have water? For my child, my pets, myself? I think it is important that all alternatives are examined. And if this is a good alternative, it needs to be examined. Otherwise, this board isn't representing San Miguel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Please approach the lectern. Okay. Public comment is closed.
Mr. President, I just want to say that if we do consider redoing the 218 and going after Director Baker's method, there are a couple of things though that I would also like to see discussed. Because I understand that because those are the numbers that he worked on. I know, of course, those numbers are going to have to be done with a consultant. But if we do something like that, you know, I want to make sure that we that we do everything properly, that we look at all sorts of sort of capital projects that have been discussed. One of the things that I know Director Gregory has brought up in the past has been trying to make sure that we can fund the Mission Street water and sewer capital project. I know that's been a big thing, and that is really a hamper on the economic vitality of this community. So if we do discuss it, that'd be a project I would want to see also analyzed as part of that 218. Possibly also long-term funding to make sure, I know we also have some comments regarding the water quality, and so those are just things I want to just make sure they're analyzed as part of that. So that's just kind of what, if the board does, if there's a vote for that, that's what I would suggest, if we're going to look at that at all. But
But what's the expense of having another 218 process?
I know there's a lot of other expenses as well attached to that. I know that there's a question of whether or not that would pass. There's a lot of unknowns. If the board decides to move forward with the existing 218, I think it would be fair for us to move forward with it, but then pause it depending on the outcome of the Director Baker's 218. And make it just because I understand that we cannot have two complete 218s at the same time. You can approve one, from what I understand, but then you can change it to a different model. So those are something that would have to be discussed. I just thought that playing this meeting, we would have a conversation regarding Director Baker's rates a bit more. So it gets kind of a limiting impression of that.
So you're saying next year, go through the other 218 process, or the year after? Is that what you're proposing, Director?
Well, yeah, just talking about it.
I'm just talking about it. I'm talking about it because I want to be fair to the fact that Director Baker did put a lot of time into this, into that.
And we did have a workshop, and we did discuss it, and it was discussed at length. So it was not considered. It's been discussed. It was issued to all of us. We had a workshop. We invited the public.
Yes.
And everybody got to ask their questions. So I was going to say, we did discuss it, and we did consider it, and are considering it. So that's what that's at.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so now we're up to a motion.
I think, I make a motion that we do another, kill this one and start over 218. That's what the people want in San Miguel. Because they spoke at the last meeting. And if for some reason, which I can't see it, if this passes, everybody in San Miguel is getting screwed. There's no other way to say it.
Well, that's not entirely true, sir.
What do you mean? I looked at the...
There is a group of people that are going to be paying more than they are now.
Yeah, the working people. The people that work are the ones that are going to be paying the bill for the ones that don't work.
I think he's making a motion.
I made a motion, but all I'm saying is just so we have all the facts, there is, and was discussed at length, a group of customers from 5 to 12 that will be paying more. There's a group under 5 that will be paying less. There's a group above that that will be paying slightly less.
Kelly,
it is an increase to everybody. I understand.
I read that completely.
We have a motion.
And it's unfair.
So the motion is stated can't go forward because we don't have an action item on the agenda to start a new Prop 218 process, and we don't have information to do that. So the motion needs to be restricted to the action item that's on here, and that's either moving forward with the rate increase or rejecting the rate increase.
That's what we're at.
So would you like to refrain or rephrase your motion?
Reject it.
Yeah. I want to reject it. Simple as that.
So we have a motion to reject the rate increase. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor to reject the resolution 2024-01, scenario, Exhibit A, Scenario 1, by Director Davis, second by Director Baker. Have a vote. Director Baker?
Yes.
Director Davis?
Yes.
Director Gregory?
No.
Director Calhoun?
Election coming up, man.
You know what? Abstain. I'm serious. No, stop. Right now, as I'm going to cut to the sheriff. You literally have posted online dead Calvins, okay? The fact you even said that, no, I have it on myself. No.
Vote on the thing or not.
The fact that you I'm serious.
Bring the level down here, please.
I already voted.
Abstain?
You voted abstain?
I voted abstain.
Director Smiley?
No.
It's a tie 2-2.
So the motion fails. It's a tie. We have another motion.
The problem is that I like Director Baker's thing, but the fact that he wants to say that, to me, after everything, the fact that I have been stalked in my house over this, ridiculous.
Dr. Calvin,
I'm sorry, but it's just,
have some decorum, please.
I know it.
All right, please. All right. Okay. I make a motion that we adopt the water increase as proposed in the 218, original 218.
Exhibit A scenario 1.
Yes.
I'll second.
I have a motion on the floor to approve Exhibit A scenario 1 by Director Smiley, second by Director Gregory. Director Gregory?
Yes.
Director Baker?
No.
Director Davis?
No.
Director Calvin?
I'm gonna abstain at this moment.
What did you
President
say?
Smiley?
He's abstaining.
Yes.
Did you say again? Well,
Motion fails, as I.
Okay. Number 1. 2. Any advice, Christina?
We need some sort of direction to staff on whether to bring this back at all or to bring something else back, but there needs to be some direction to staff at this point.
I'll make a motion that we bring it back.
And we don't need, it doesn't need to be a formal motion, but if
Well,
one director, we need a
yeah.
second.
Okay, well, what I'm saying, we'll start at another 218.
But, okay, that, we can't do that here.
Okay.
So the direction to staff is what, would you like information to be brought back on different scenarios? Do you want this one brought back with more information? Do you want Director Baker's CPI increase idea to be brought back as far as what needs to be done to do that? Because I'll tell you right now, I don't think you need a new study for a CPI increase.
You don't need it?
You did a study, a CPI increase speaks for itself as a cost of living increase. There's not a study tied to that. We just need to look at the legalities of it and make sure that we do it the right way. So additional information can be brought back on that. We could give Director Baker's rates to the consultant. I don't know if they've already looked at it to see if they can tie a nexus to it. We just need a constitutional nexus to whatever you're going to adopt. There's a constitutional nexus to the rates that are proposed. There may be to other structures, but staff needs direction on what it is that you would like brought back. Or if you don't want it brought back at all, that's also another option.
I would support the CPI method. If that's if that's the simplest thing, if there's a constitutional nexus, we don't have to spend money on another rate study, you know? Because
Well, we wouldn't be starting from zero.
I know we're not.
So I think at this point, what we need is some sort of direction on whether this particular rate study should be continued, rejected, or adopted.